There are also people who are less creative and more organised. Actually, you know, people who line up have all the towels exactly the right height and line up all the tins of beans in the shelf are a bit weird to live with, but wonderful people if you want to do something like Google and actually just organise, index the world's information. Now, that's actually incredibly cool, but you wouldn't necessarily want to go to dinner with anybody. Right? And the other thing is that there are people, the Norman Fosters and the Philip Starks and so on of this world, who are actually just such immense thinkers that whatever they think in whatever direction, this is slightly easier on a PowerPoint, but whatever they do, they take you in an interesting direction, and they're able to think in such an immense way that they're constantly able to take their audience with them. Okay, so there are a number of, so if I do one more. So there are a number of types of thinking that are very successful. One is big thinking, the ability to take your audience with you, to look in every direction. One of them is flexible thinking, is actually to take this immense amount of knowledge about something and flex it such that, you know, although you know, Hawking is able to think out here, I don't necessarily want to know about that stuff because I'm not ready for it. You know, I can think just about in 2 and 3 and a bit dimensions, but once you get to, you know, hypercubes and all that kind of stuff, it gets a bit funky for me. By the time he's at 13 dimensions, it's like, you know, I can't cope with that. But because he's able to flex his thinking to meet the needs of me, the audience, then that's very useful. You also have the Picasso thing of the ability to mobilise the audience thinking and take them with you. Okay? And the fourth type of thing is agility, is to spot the fact that the market has moved from here to over here somewhere, and is able to very quickly move into the new space. You have a kind of, I used to be a pilot, we used to have a go bag of stuff. I'd have my maps and my head case and a toothbrush and, you know, a clean t-shirt by the door. And if I've got a call, I could pick it up and go. And actually, you know, if you think about researching the future trends, etc., etc., when the market shifts quickly, you're able to move into that space. You know the song, Don't Worry, Be Happy. Well, here we can, you know, if the market shifts, it's Don't Worry, Be Crappy. You just need to be less shit than everybody else. You don't need to be excellent to start with. You can't stay crappy, but it's okay to start with, to just be there quickly enough in the shifting market. Okay? So, this is a cool curve. Just a little illustration of my own story. My maths teacher, Bob Hall, used to call me Toad the Strode. Okay? The odd flash of brilliance, long periods of darkness. I thought it was fantastic. But when he said that to me, I thought, if you think about the odd flash of brilliance, long periods of darkness, there's almost no overlap. The cool curve, the odds of me having an idea which is perceived to be cool and interesting and creative by other people is not going to work. And I just wasn't getting anywhere with all these mad ideas I was having. I thought, well, you know, the odd flash of brilliance. Well, maybe I should be more brilliant. Well, being more brilliant doesn't affect the audience. It does nothing for you. Doing more research, deeper research into something that nobody's interested in, they're still not going to be interested, right? It's like, maybe I need to have more flashes of brilliance. Doesn't make any difference, right? Okay, that's not what it's about. And then it's like, okay, maybe I should have less periods of darkness. But you know, you've still got a scattergun, you're still not really looking. It's really not helping you identify the stuff that fits within the cool curve. It's not till you start to go, let's assume that all this stuff is cool, but this is just background for the purpose, which is to find something out of all these mad ideas which meet the cool curve for my audience. And I stopped thinking about me, funnily enough, which was an extended teenage phase, let's say. Then it actually started to become useful, and we as a business started to move forward substantially. Okay? So we were able to generate an enormous quantity of ideas, and we do look to generate maybe 1,000 ideas a year, which gives us 3 or 4 good commercial things. So the Buzz Music one was an example. The industry's moving. It's starting to be. We're starting to move from hardcore games into social games. The Dance Dance Revolution and the iToy and Guitar Hero and SingStar. We're all part of that shift, and Buzz was part of that as we moved into the Wii generation. And it was simply a case of, okay, we know what the people want to play. How do we not get excluded? Well, let's make a game that nobody knows how to make, right? So this tool of saying, right, what is it the audience needs has been incredibly useful. Okay, so that's the background. The next thing that we found is, right, well, let's play on this, extend this theme of creativity. The next thing we found is that it doesn't matter whether you're in academia or a creative or a business or whatever it is, people act within very narrow silos. Okay? So if you imagine that Sue and I are astrophysicists, obviously, we look like we might be, then and Sue has a brilliant idea for a new way of looking at black holes. Now, probably I know how that works, so she can tell me, I'm going, oh, that's interesting. Does that refer to such and such? You go, oh, yeah, but I was thinking this, like, okay. And if she tells me, and I might comment on whatever it is, the odds are she knows what she's talking about, and any comment that I make is going to add a certain amount of value. So if she publishes a paper, it's likely to be successful, right? Okay. Although it is a bit of a teetering pile of plates, as we start to go further and further, I go further and further through my career before I get to the point that I'm adding plates on the top, and even then, it's starting to get a bit wobbly, right? But if Sue's an astrophysicist and I'm a ballerina, which from my fine figure you can tell I used to be, then how do we even start? The choreography of celestial bodies may sound an interesting paper, but we have no clue. Sue's up here and I'm here. How do we cross without falling into the chasm? It's very, very difficult. And as an academic, my tenure, the publications, the funding that I get, my reputation, are all channeling me into this very narrow silo. But that's the same with the music industry versus the games industry versus TV. I operate. It's hard enough to make money within my own silo or to get published within my own silo. But if you do a game and a film, 5, 12, 10 minutes. If I do a game and a film, I now have an entire other industry to blame. And it's very difficult to work. But what we have found is that as we're having to sweat the asset, as we're having to find new money, as ad revenue shrink, as we are starting to say that this peak is too high and it's great for the odd professor in the world, but for the rest of us it's too difficult. We're starting to look at how do we infill. Okay? And as I said, Sue and I have no idea how to talk to each other. I still have my tutu on, and she's trying to figure out quantum foam, and that's fine. But we have to come down from our peak into the valley to meet each other, and we have to start working together, and that's fairly difficult. And so a lot of because we simply don't understand each other, we don't have the same language, we have no idea where the opportunity lies, but we know to be able to infill that is very useful. Maths and medicine gave us epidemiology, you wouldn't necessarily put them together, but the results have been very interesting. So a lot of it is about mechanisms of trust. How the hell do you start people working together? And actually, do you know what? Coffee and conversation has been the critical point. Now, if you think about conversation as a mechanism of trust, if I pass your desk every day and say, "Oh, do you want a coffee? And how was your holiday?" And how's your wife? Or do you have a good night last night? And then I come to you one day and go, "I've got a real problem. I've really messed up these spreadsheets. Can you help me with the maths?" Then there's a chance that you're going to help me because we know each other. Right?